Hi, I'm Emma Willard. I was born on February 23rd, 1787, in Berlin, Connecticut. I was a staunch advocate for advancing access to education for women in the middle years of the 19th century. Some of my greatest accomplishments include writing the books Journal and Letters from France and Great Britain, Guide to the Temple of Time, and Universal History for Schools, and Last Leaves of American History that all include why women should be included in the education reform movement just as much as men. I also founded the Troy Female Seminary School in 1821, located in Troy, New York, which educated over 12,000 women within its first 50 years. To add, I also contributed to the World's Educational Convention for the United States in 1854, where I shared my knowledge of the co-educational system and its benefits to both men and women. Unfortunately, I passed away on April 15th, 1870 in Troy, New York. The problem facing our nation today is the divide women and men experience in education. This is a huge problem because female literacy rates in 1851 are still only 55% compared to nearly 70% for men. The proportion of women in the population is steadily rising and will be about 1,054 women per 1,000 men by the year 1871. This means that there is a surplus of women over men, and accordingly, over 250,000 women have little expectation of marriage and the lifetime protection of husband and home. If we make up the majority of the population, why should we wait like sitting ducks for our husbands when we can be educated ourselves? A specific recommendation to fix this problem would be the creation of women's educational institutes, as I have made myself. To add, I would also recommend the halt of discrimination towards women for the study of scientific and mathematical principles. The challenge facing the success of my reform movement was definitely convincing powerful and wealthy male legislators that not just rich white men deserve education, but rather everyone, because a strong nation always compares better than an undereducated nation. At a young age, my father encouraged me to educate myself beyond the norm of other girls. In 1802, I went to my very first school, Middlebury College, and in a matter of 5 years, I became principal. In my time at Middlebury, I realized the vast difference between the education of men and women's education. My husband's nephew, who also went to Middlebury, loaned me his textbooks for geometry and philosophy, which were known to be men's subjects, which would advance my education further. This led me to create Troy Female Seminary, where I taught many women classic and scientific principles. Country a better place, I published an address to public, particularly to the members of legislature of New York, proposing a plan for improving female education, which described the benefits of society of better education for women, which didn't fulfill its goal, but raised awareness to many prominent figures. In 1821, I also opened the Troy Female Seminary, a private secondary school for girls. I never advocated a radical alteration of women's roles in society, but I did insist that girls were intellectually just as capable as boys. Along with traditional academic subjects, a student at the Troy Female Seminary School learned the art of being a lady. I imparted to a whole generation of America's elite young women. Obstacles I faced was when Thomas Jefferson wrote me a letter stating that women should not read novels, which were considered a massive trash, with few exceptions. For like reason, too, much poetry should not be indulged. Several members of legislation also ridiculed my outline of a course academic studies for girls as contrary to God's will. Finally, I received support from the New York Governor DeWitt Clinton. I then moved to Troy, New York after the town council there established a fund to support a school for young women.